Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. You join me on a rather damp and dreary winter day here in southern England. However, the gentleman who sent me an image today has done so from the other side of the world, where it's actually summertime as I speak, whilst I'm labouring here under a winter's day. So, today, it's one of my Am I a Chap series, where I take an image or two which have been sent by a viewer for me to explore and pass my observations on. Now, the goal here, absolutely, it isn't about criticism, it's about seeking inspiration and motivation from the way that these intentionally well-dressed men approach their lives, so that perhaps we can get ideas which we can draw forward into our own journey to Chap Nirvana. Now, today's Antipodean application to the Am I a Chap series, falling over my words, comes from Ryan, and he tells me something of his story here. So, let me have a look. So Ryan tells me that his family originates from Guildford in Surrey here in England, and they moved over to Sydney, Australia. So, this is what he tells us. By day, I navigate the rough and tumble world of construction management, wearing high-vis clothing, steel toe-cut boots, working to deadlines and temperamental machinery. You get the picture. Then, come an evening, I can be found cruising the streets of Sydney on my trusty Harley-Davidson motorbike. It's a far cry from the tweed and cucumber sandwiches of good old Surrey. You're probably right, sir. The plot twist, Ash, came during a recent trip to the Opera House, taking my daughter to see a show. I entered the grand foyer with my young daughter. Ever the observer, she said to me, "Dad, you're going full chap tonight." It made me wonder, Ash, is there a chap beneath my rough and tumble exterior? Can a bloke who spends his days on work sites or motorcycles appreciate the finer things, such as a well-tailored suit, a witty repartee, or a perfectly brewed cuppa? Or is this newfound chapness just a fleeting fancy brought on by the magic of the Opera House? That's where you come in, my dapper friend. I am throwing myself at your mercy for your expert diagnosis. Am I merely masquerading as a chap, or is there a true gent hiding beneath the hard hat? Well, first of all, thank you, Ryan, for sending your images in. It's a pleasure to hear from you, and let's get to work, shall we? I think there's work to be done. Firstly, let me say, I've been to Australia, I've been to the Sydney Opera House. It is a national treasure of your country, and I can understand what you mean, how you could be overcome by the majesty of such an architectural wonder, and it would make you want to be a better version of your own sartorial self. So I get it entirely. So here's the image of Ryan, and I would say, you know, quite what we would probably describe as sufficiently formal yet casual to deal with almost every situation in this modern world. Because as Ryan rightly identifies, most people these days, dressing up to them is actually wearing jeans and a pair of shoes with laces. Going to the extent of coordinating one's outfit to make the best of one's appearance is perhaps beyond the mental thought processes of most people who entirely dress for comfort. So first of all, Ryan, I would say you've definitely dressed well and smart enough for pretty much any occasion in this modern world, particularly in Australia, which I'm guessing somewhat warmer, so that tends to lend towards more casuality. So let's unpack the outfit, and kindly Ryan has told us something of the outfit, the makeup of his outfit, what he's actually wearing here. So let's start at the ground, shall we? As one is prone to do. And of course, we are in Australia. So what else would an Australian gentleman wear other than a fine pair of R.M. Williams boots? Now, to the casual observer who's unfamiliar with Antipodean clothing styles, you might think these look somewhat casual Chelsea boots, and of course that's effectively what they are. But they are the staple wear of most Australian men because they are this classically elegant yet entirely utilitarian piece of footwear which pretty much every Australian fella I've met or met when I visited Australia in the past has had on their feet. So certainly they serve the purpose for being smart and yet utilitarian. which is just the sort of thing you need in a country where the climate can be quite abrasive to most people, and there's lots of environmental challenges. So what sort of boots have we got here? Let's have a look. As I say, first glance, they are a typical sort of Chelsea boot, and they seem to be, I can't quite tell whether they're black or very dark chocolate in colour, but either way I can see that there's a nice shine on the toe cap, so hats off to you, sir. It's a nice pair of boots with a nice shine. Now, the big thing about R.M. Williams, which incidentally was founded in 1932 by Mr. R.M. Williams, and have become this sort of icon of Australian footwear, is the fact they're made from one, I think they call it yearling leather, so it's quite soft leather. And it makes a great boot which is rugged and hard wearing, yet, as Ryan demonstrates here, entirely capable of holding a very nice shine. Leather soles, they're a great boot. I like them. And of course, whereas they would perhaps be a little bit industrial, perhaps in London, in Australia, it's the perfect footwear to wear. I've often thought about buying a pair of these myself, because my life being half split between the rural world and the urban world, I think these would actually fit my lifestyle rather well. But they are about £400 here in the UK, which is quite steep for a pair of boots like this. For the same sort of money in this country, I could easily step into a pair of Chini boots. I could probably be looking at low-level Crockett & Jones, which are very high quality, Northampton, British-made, Goodyear welted shoes. So there's a bit of a balance there. At some point in my life, I think I will, just to say I've gone down that road. But Ryan, you're rocking them, as any Australian gentleman, of course, should do. So, moving up the body, and in a temperate climate, as Australia undoubtedly is, or shall we say, no, it's not temperate, is it? It's rather warm, although I know from experience Sydney is a lot more temperate. That's why it's as far south as it can be in Australia. It's further away from the equator as you can possibly get, so the weather's a bit more bearable, opposed to the north of the country where it is super hot. But here in Sydney, a nice pair of khaki chino trousers is what one might expect a gentleman to wear, very much in keeping with that sort of subtropical climate, shall we say. Yeah, good fit, pretty good break on the leg. I can see that they've been hemmed. Maybe you want to run the iron maybe over the bottom of that break area just to solidify that. But no, other than that, looks pretty good, sir, pretty good. Belts at the waist, dark coloured leather in keeping with the shoes. Of course, what we're always trying to do, if we're wearing leather shoes, is to match that colour with our belt or any other leather accessories that we're wearing as well, just so that there is continuity throughout the outfit. And Ryan has certainly done that. Now let's look up at the top part of the body. And let's look at that jacket that he's wearing. And he's kindly told me that the jacket is, hang on, let me just open that little tab for me here. It is a sports jacket which he bought from Savile Row in London, so he knows, or he has been to the epicenter of men's clothing in the world, and he's made the investment of this jacket. And as we can see, it's a notch lapel, single-breasted, two-button fastening jacket, which to my eye is, it's hard to tell, could be linen, could be just the patination on the jacket itself, but it's certainly, I would call it a blazer sports jacket for sure. The style of it, the pattern on it, the contrasting buttons lends towards the blazer style, which is perfect for wearing with odd trousers. So in a situation like this, the coloration seems to have a brown theme to it, with sort of cross-hatch colouring. It works perfectly with those khaki chino trousers you're wearing. It's a lovely fit. The length on the sleeve is perfect, showing off a very stylish watch, which we'll talk about in a moment. Yeah, I really like it. It's a lovely jacket. Now, whilst we're talking about the jacket, let's look at some of the accessories. There's a breast pocket, so of course it's the law. If you've got a breast pocket on your jacket, it has to have a pocket square. And he has a nice pocket square. I can just see some sort of floral images on there, and it's a nice navy colour. Looks good. Gone for the old chaos fold, as I call it. So the sort of puff, stuff it in, looks the best. On the lapel, now I often say, the lapel on any jacket, notch lapel on this one, it is sartorial real estate, which is yours to make the most of. And here Ryan has gone for it. So what we see is what appears to be an artificial flower, or a boutonniere, worn in the boutonniere hole, the buttonhole. And nice colour, orange predominant colour. I'm saying artificial, it looks artificial. It might not be, but the point is made. It's a lovely garment, boutonniere, which adds interest, colour, texture to the whole outfit, and it becomes the focal point, doesn't it? When you have something like that in your lapel, it's going to draw the eye, and rightly so, because it's attractive and colourful. Below the boutonniere, in something of a controversial move, and Ryan acknowledges that here, he has added an additional lapel adornment in the small metallic and enamel badge, which he has fastened to the lapel. It appears to have some sort of Masonic imagery on it, giving us an indication of perhaps his spare time activities. But that said, there's a bit of a train of thought here, and Ryan, I think, mentioned it himself. You know, had he I may be a little cluttered on the lapel. As he says, I had to leave the pin on following a recent event. So even himself, he acknowledges, has he overdone it? That's the question. I don't think so, all right? King Charles often wears multiple lapel adornments. What you've got to do is make sure they're not fighting against each other. And when you've got a boutonniere, along with an enamel or metallic badge, they're from different families of adornment, all right? They're not battling each other for attention. So I think it works all right for Ryan here. If you had two enamel badges or metal badges, there's a lot going on for the eye to see. In this case, from two different sort of symbolic families, really, the flower and the badge, I think it works okay. So you don't have any problems there. It's working okay. Okay, moving on. Let's look at that shirt which Ryan is wearing, and he's told me something about it. It is a Turnbull and Asser shirt, so the world's foremost shirt maker, royal warrant holders for His Majesty the King, and I own a number of their shirts myself. They are exquisite, there's no doubt about that. But by far, cheapest place to buy them is on good old eBay, where you can snag a £250 shirt for £25, you know, a tenth of the price, if you're lucky. And Ryan has pulled the right number here. He's got a nice shirt, and in an outfit where the jacket and the trousers are predominantly neutral in their appearance. Their colour is not fighting for your attention. You can get away with a shirt which has got vibrancy and lots of colour. And as we can see, the shirt which Ryan is wearing, open at the neck, probably a short sleeve shirt because I can't see any visible at the cuffs of his jacket, has got a lot going on, lots of stripes of colour, pink and blue and red, and it is vibrant, it is interesting, it draws the attention, and it's perfect for a situation like this. Warm country, you might want to take the jacket off. You've got a short sleeve shirt which can easily be worn without the jacket, so it looks rather nice and it works well. It's sweet spot, sir, and if you've got a Turnbull and Asser shirt from eBay and it looks this good, looks to be in great condition, you've scored. That's all I would say. What we can see, observation point here, is that the collar has gone a little awry, all right? Because it probably, short sleeve shirt, designed not to be worn with a tie, so the collars tend to be a little looser, with less structure to them to a degree. Now, and as you can see, the collar's gone a touch flyaway. It's broken loose of the collar or the lapel of the jacket, and it's gone off on an angle. One way you can get around this, or there's a couple of ways you can get around it, quite likely the collar inside the shirt will have the collar stay openings where you can put a collar stay in to retain the rigidity of the collar. What you can do is get a metallic collar stay and a little magnet which will hold the collar in place against the sides of the shirt. This is what I do in the summer months when I'm wearing a shirt without a tie, or a short sleeve shirt where there's a likelihood that something like this may occur and the collar wants to go on a different path than me. That's an easy way of getting around it. Additional to that, there are many sort of magic collar solutions you can buy these days, which will offer an often plastic fitted opportunity where you can fit it to the shirt collar. It goes under the shirt collar and it'll hold the collar rigidly in place to make sure your errant collar won't try and run away in its own direction. But in this case, that's the only thing really which sits out of place in the outfit, I would say, the collar going in a slightly different journey to you. I cannot not mention the wristwatch at the end of your arm there. What we are seeing is an Omega Speedmaster, a Moonwatch, and it's a reference 3861. which is an absolutely exquisite watch. I know it is because I was handling one only this week. I met a friend and he was wearing a Speedmaster, and I've never really been a huge fan of the Speedmaster or chronographs in general, because I find dials which are very cluttered with subdials difficult to read. And I've always had a bit of a negative view of it. However, I got up close and personal with a Speedy this last week, held it in my hand, felt the weight of it, felt the ambience of that iconic watch. And despite its larger size, I think it was a 42mm I was handling, it was a watch which sang out to me with something of its history, its heritage and its tradition. So I totally get it to a degree now. I'm not going to be rushing out to buy one myself, because generally I think they're too big. For my smaller dainty wrist, I'm wearing a 36mm Datejust today, so I tend to lean towards sizes which are more in keeping with my 6.5-inch wrist. But if you've got the wrist size, a watch like this with its heritage and its presence, they really work well. And with a steel band, as Ryan has here, it's perfect for a hot climate, because you're not going to be affected by, sweating, all that sort of thing, perspiration, which will soak into the band and may be detrimental if it's leather or something like that. But all in all, I think what Ryan has shown us here is an absolute spot-on outfit. Looks really good from head to toe. The classic Australian gentleman out for a smart afternoon at Sydney Opera House in the background. You've nailed it. You have. Your daughter was entirely correct. You have gone full chap and you've forged ahead. Let's hope that there are other gentlemen in your orbit who may be influenced with your style change towards being a more dapper chap. And let me ask you the question. I mean, it's rhetorical. I'm not going to be able to hear your answer. But surely, did you feel more confident? Did you feel more chap yourself? Did it give you a different sway as you walked down the street? Did you notice the way that people treated you change because you were intentionally well dressed? I always find that, because half of my life I'm casually attired. But when I go into the city and I put on nice clothing, I feel different and people treat me differently. And for no other reason, that is a good enough excuse to put nice clothing on and cut a dash as I go about my daily business. And I think, Ryan, I'd love to hear how you felt upping your game and entering the world of top-end chapdom. So, Ryan, you are a chap, no doubt. Thank you for sending the images in. Now, if you'd like to do like Ryan and share your images with me to inspire and motivate the other gentlemen out there who may be in a sartorial funk and they need that kick up the backside to get their nice clothes on and get out and feel better about themselves, send me your image in. Drop me an image by email. You'll see the image on my screen now. As much definition as possible from head to toe, just like Ryan did, so I can look at the outfit and share it with the chaps out there so that you can motivate us to be a better version of ourselves. And I would deeply appreciate that. So, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more like this, click the subscribe button. If you would like to support the channel, leave me a comment on Ryan's outfit and how good it is. You can buy me a coffee. So one-off thing is just like giving me a tip for the work that I do. You can become a patron, and my patrons benefit from an additional video from me, specially tailored for my patrons each and every week, and an additional ongoing content with me as the week unfolds. If you'd like to get in on that, you'll find the instructions on how to do so in the show notes below. So, until the next time, take care, and I will see you again very soon.